conflicted on whether or not to recommend Death's Door. On one hand, I very much enjoyed my time, was consistently surprised at the level of quality, and it created one of the greatest characters in all of gaming. But on the other hand, I'm kinda peeved I'll have to can my idea for Life's Window, a game where you play as a Morningstar-equipped dove employed by the Master of Windows, traversing lands far and wide to beat monsters to life. But I guess it was never meant to be. Even if Death's Door didn't come out, it still wouldn't change the fact I don't know how to produce, design, program, animate, or compose for video games. So back to the game that actually exists. Death's Door is an indie game released July 20th, 2021, published by Devolver Digital and developed by the dynamic duo of David Fenn and Mark Foster, who make up Acidnerve. There were 6 more people involved with the development, so it wasn't just the 2 of them doing everything, but it's still impressive how a team in the single digits made this. It's another day in the life for an avian reaper maintaining the natural order of things. He's given the task of collecting a giant soul, a door is dropped to get him to it, and after unaliving it, the soul is almost in his feathered grasp before he's intercepted.
Give me that! Bonk!
By the time he wakes up, the soul is long gone, and a big problem arises. Until that specific soul is processed, the door he took to get into our world will remain open, and while it is, he will be mortal and age. So while he still comes back from combat deaths as they're unnatural, when Father Time taps on that shoulder, he's done forever. So the clock is ticking, and you only have like 7 to 8 years. So time is of the essence. That's the basis for the story, and while it spins out from that almost immediately, that's for you to experience. As for what I think about the whole thing, it's good. Surprisingly good. I really expected the story to be as basic as go here, kill these things, cutscene, roll credits, and technically that does happen, but that's if you really oversimplify it. Death's Door sets up an interesting world, takes it to some unexpected places, and does so with flair. Sometimes with its visuals, sometimes with its music, but always with its dialogue. The character dialogue is fantastic, and my favorite part of the game. There's not a single line voice acted by anybody, only the text that popped up on screen, and multiple times it caught me off guard and made me audibly laugh. After most major developments, I would talk to everybody to see if they had anything new to say, especially my mammalian boy Jefferson, a man who at all times was just brimming with 2 things: life, and as some of the more eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed, Squid Company. Crazy subtle, right? I didn't even notice it until I was 2 bowls of soup and an evening stroll with him into the game. I also dug Stedhome and Pothead, though with Pothead there's always this underlying tension that'll sneak a spoonful of himself in your mouth when you least expect it.
My body is now your communion. Please eat from me. Eat from me. Drink from me.
It plays as an isometric action-adventure game, often compared to the top-down Zelda games. There's no map, which would have been nice, but with the camera control and designs of the open areas being layered and compact enough, my mental map never got too strained. The secrets can be pretty well hidden and make it so you've always got to keep your head on a swivel for imperfections and openings, with the rewards ranging from increased health, new weapons, and endgame stuff. Those hidden secrets are the main extent of thinking outside the box, as the obstacles in the dungeon areas are less puzzles and more knowledge and item checks. Once you know you have the ability to do something, it's very straightforward. So broadly, Zelda is an okay comparison for the game's structure, but the combat reminded me a lot more of Hades. It's not as good as Hades, but still a lower grade Hades blows any top-down Zelda game out of the water in terms of fun. You'll be hit with waves of enemies appearing in closed off sections and have to mix up your abilities at close and long range with the roll button to get out of dodge or dodge into enemies. The challenge in most of these sections isn't crushing, even if the crow is pretty fragile, only allowing a handful of touches before you're done. It's super easy to lose more than 1 HP square quickly if you don't take a moment to jump out of the fire and get composed. When it comes to combat, the shining moments are when the game really stacks the deck against you. Having all these waves, managing space, and keeping track of different enemies with their tells is hella fun, making every Avarice and boss fight constant highlights to look forward to. There are a couple of unlockable weapons and abilities that aren't super balanced. Some are clearly worse, clearly better, clearly an umbrella, but it's a single player experience and variety is the spice of life, so who gives a shit? Let people beat things with umbrellas even if it's objectively worse than a Warhammer. Other people than me, preferably, because I don't have the time to chip away at every enemy with a piece of nylon attached to a stick, and neither do 95.9% of players on Steam. Visually, this game is solid. It has some really nice effects, each area has a different feel to the one that came before, and the colors used were very pleasant with its pastel greens and blues. The style is clean, and something about the main 3 areas kept reminding me of Avatar: The Last Airbender, though I'm not sure if it was more the environment or the music that contributed to that. Also caught some Journey vibes from time to time. I would say my favorite aspect of the visuals would be the character designs, which gave them a leg up in terms of likability before even saying a word. Like, look at this crow. Pretty cool, right? Music-wise, this game knocks out of the park, once again exceeding my expectations. A lot of the game's low-key tracks are beautiful, with constant use of pianos, violins, and wind instruments. Depending on where you are, it might sound whimsical, calming, or even morose, which makes a lot of sense since this game revolves around death. I don't want to stop the video in its tracks to play section after section of these songs, but I'll quickly highlight some. Lost Cemetery, beautiful. Estate of the Urn Witch, catchy. Ceramic Manor, lovely piano, and Avarice Grandma and Final Boss theme, epic. While most of the game is very serene and nice with its audio, when it needs to raise the stakes and pump you up, it can. Death's Door rarely uses electric guitars, but when it does, you know shit's going down, and I will never get tired of hearing this lick. Death's Door is an obvious recommendation to almost anybody. It's simple, fun, surprisingly resonant, not very expensive, and goes on sale like all the time. In the end, my total playtime for the non-Umbrella run was about 16 hours, beating every boss, planting 50 seeds, and completing the endgame quests, which were an awesome surprise. It's a nice game to sit down and relax to, even if I wish it was a smidge more difficult. I'd love a sequel down the line, but if this is just a one-off, which it probably is, I'll remember my time with it fondly. Especially the parts with Jefferson. So that's the video. Thank you for watching, and if you want to see anything in the future, be sure to subscribe here, and or follow me on Twitter for updates. Later.